Indonesia has long been seen as a transit country when it comes to the international trade in illegal drugs. However, that's changing as different lifestyles, work demands and better incomes see more Indonesian people using amphetamines as a stimulant. Anti-drugs officials in Indonesia are now coping with a problem that's found in other parts of Asia, where drug manufacturers have come into the country to be closer to the market. Helen Brown reports from Jakarta.
It's a Saturday morning and the head of Indonesia's anti-drugs authority has come to inspect a drug rehabilitation centre. It's one of 3 run by the agency, providing government-funded help for those with an addiction. Among its facilities to help addicts rebuild their lives is a radio and television station.
Ini dalam rangka memulihkan ya.
This is in line with the healing process. If we teach them life skills, it builds their self-esteem. They'll talk to more people in their community, and that will help them heal and distract them from the idea of using drugs.
Around 80% of the patients here at the moment have come voluntarily. The rest have been to court and were ordered to go into rehabilitation. Former addicts are brought back as trained counsellors. One of them is Aldi, who broke a 9-year heroin habit.
Because I'm a former addict, they feel that I understand what they've been going through. We never have any difficulty in our communication and we can interact effectively. And they're more open to me and more welcoming.
The centre, run by the anti-drugs agency Badan Narkotika Nasional, or BNN, is about 2 hours' drive out of Jakarta. It feels a bit like a resort. A golf course even sits nearby. But once the patients have signed in, they're locked in for a 6-month program.
Because we're talking about disease, addiction is a disease, brain disease. So they need treatment, they need rehabilitation. They don't need punishment.
Indonesia's drug problem is changing. In previous decades, Indonesia's young were addicted to heroin. Now there are more than 1 million users of crystal methamphetamine, a class of drugs known by authorities as amphetamine-type stimulants, or ATS.
Yes, there is a shift in Indonesia. Narcotics used to be the favourite, but the trend now is for amphetamine-type stimulants, or ATS. And it becomes a trend because people see it as a light drug, even though it's dangerous. That's why it's being used more.
Officials say there are about 4 million drug users in total in Indonesia, out of a country of 240 million. So just more than 1 million taking amphetamines, such as sabu-sabu, may seem relatively small, but it's generating much concern.
Here we talk about, age 20 to 29 for Indonesia. That's why I made a comment that, hey, this is, really not looking good. This young workforce is, impacted by this drug, even though it's around, 0.8 or 9%, but, still it's a big number.
Overall, there are about 100 drug treatment centres in Indonesia, and they're run by the government, NGOs and private operators. Rehabilitation is seen as a way to reduce demand. But stemming the supply is becoming an increasingly difficult task. Many drugs are imported into Indonesia, but more and more are also being locally manufactured. The Southeast Asian office of the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime says 25 meth labs were seized in Indonesia last year.
We see a tendency also for the labs to become smaller. So no longer mega labs, but smaller labs, which are therefore less easy to detect and pose a greater risk to law enforcement in terms of their ability to counteract this trend.
The anti-drugs agency, BNN, says Iranian and Nigerian syndicates are moving in, working with locals to set up small meth labs in busy residential areas. To fight this, the agency has stepped up its cooperation with counterparts in other countries.
Kita terus-menerus meningkatkan kemampuan resource kita.
We keep improving our ability and resources, which are currently in a pretty good condition, because Indonesia could reveal big drug rings and big laboratories. By working in cooperation with foreign drug agencies, we can process the information. It's enough, but we can't let our guard down.
The anti-drug authorities are keen to send a strong message to both the dealers and the users. Recently, after an early morning raid, they arrested popular singer Raffi Ahmad for drug use. The Indonesian entertainer is in this facility at the moment, having been sent here by the justice system for assessment. The Anti-Drugs Agency says busting high-profile individuals sends a message to the community that drugs are out there and to be careful. Authorities say such prominent arrests are part of the anti-drug strategy.
What becomes our priority is not Raffi, but people talking about drugs. When people talk about drugs, parents become more alert and take more care.
It's a tough battle. Methamphetamine production and use has soared across Southeast Asia over the past 5 years. But the aim is for less people to need rehabilitation in clinics such as these, a huge cost socially and economically.
Yes, we need help. I can be what I am now because I was helped by people like me. So that's why I stay here. I'm an expert in this field. That's the purpose. And apart from that, I feel that this is part of my redemption.
But a cost for some that is very much worth it.